like that. Hi everyone, very happy to be live with Kat Miller. Do you want to start us off with an introduction to yourself and your books?
Hiya, my name is Kat Miller. The Nothing Month, which I have here, is my debut crime thriller. But I am also published as Catherine Miller, and some people might know me for my women's fiction. So books like The Day That Changed Everything and 99 Days with You, which are far more romantic based books. This was a slight departure from that, and I'll tell you more about that. Do you want me to talk about the book yet, or?
Yeah, go with it.
So I just had this idea that I couldn't let go of, and it was about a social media challenge where people go off grid for a month, and within that, somebody goes missing, and that was the kind of start of the idea. It did have about 3 rewrites, so it's not how it originally started out. It was more of a women's fiction book to start with, and it got moved into a crime thriller.
Yeah, because it's not your traditional like crime book, I wouldn't say. Is it?
Yeah, it's
There's like a lot of threads that are more about the people, which is I liked it. I thought it was quite clever.
I think because it was originally more of a women's fiction book, and that's what I'm used to writing. The idea came when I was during it's set in COVID as well, which is something that not a lot of books have done. But it was because I was walking around a field doing my designated exercise during lockdown, listening to 1984 by oh, just
George
gonna
Orwell.
was it? Yeah, and I was listening to it on audiobook, and there was all these signs up about not being able to, be 2 meters apart, all the rules that were in place at that point, and it was quite a dystopian moment. And I thought I really want to have something in book form that um, marks that point in time, because there aren't many books that are doing it. So that was part of what I was trying to do as well, was not only show a story where things are happening, but also mark a really unfamiliar point of time for us by having slightly unusual characters, like Phoenix, where they've completely off grid all of their life, um, and experiencing the kind of life we were put into voluntarily.
Yeah. So I mean, talk us through the premise of the Nothing Month for people who haven't read it. Like the premise of the actual Nothing Month challenge, if that makes sense. Not the book.
Yes. So the challenge itself is, after COVID, because of what people have been through, people were opting to then go off grid. So because I think a lot of the information we received during lockdown was online, it was through social media, through the media, and it was quite overwhelming at that point. So the Nothing Month idea came about in wanting people to come off social media. And I just thought, actually, that's a concept that a lot of people would welcome in this digital social media age. I think we have a new kind of form of newspaper outlets where it's not daily newspapers that you pick up from the shop. It's the phone in front of your face, kind of receiving updates constantly. And it was a way of people breaking away from that, coming offline completely, but also going off grid. So they weren't at home with their usual comforts. They were going elsewhere, not having electricity, not having gas. And I just thought it's kind of a fun concept, in a way, but expects that people would take advantage of anyone doing that. Unfortunately, working in criminal law, I know there's people that would take advantage of such situations. And yeah, it was a way of presenting both sides of that, I guess.
Yeah, which makes sense. I think a lot of good things came out of COVID and the online movement. For instance, what
Yeah.
we're doing now is
Yeah,
something
yeah.
we learned how to do in lockdown.
Yeah, and there were a lot of good things, like you say, like being able to work remotely more, meetings taking place more. I'm currently doing an online law conversion course, and I'm doing that from home essentially, whereas once upon a time you would have had to physically go into a university to do that. So those things have moved forward much more. But it was also focusing partly on teenage mental health, because I think out of everyone, that cohort was affected by that period of time where they missed out on a lot of the social activities that teenagers would have. So things like proms, GCSEs, A levels, where they didn't happen in the normal way. It was kind of highlighting that mental health, the rise that's occurred as a result of that. So yeah, there's, like you say, there's lots of advantages, but there were disadvantages as well, and it was trying to show both of those things.
True. I was terrible at working from home.
Yeah, I think you either love it or hate it.
Yeah, I'm a teacher as well, so it's not a job that is naturally easy to do from home.
No, no. And
So,
I've got twin girls, so I was having to be teacher at the time as well, which had its own set of challenges.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it was a weird experience, wasn't it? That we all lived through, and I think you brought that sense of that back quite well. And I can kind of see why people don't write about it, but I think it's such a weird shared experience. It's good that people are as well.
Yeah, I think at the time I remember, obviously I write romantic fiction, so primarily in the past, and editors weren't wanting that. They weren't wanting to see books that mentioned COVID or had that within it. I mean, there were some books that were specifically around that theme. Um, I've got one book called The Girl Who Couldn't Leave, and that was what I was writing during COVID. They didn't want COVID in it, but actually I did end up mentioning it at the end. Just because of the theme of the book, it actually linked in really well. It was quite strange to have come up with this idea of somebody who couldn't leave the house because of agoraphobia, and then essentially that kind of became reality because we were all in that situation.
Well, there's brilliant. Like there was a documentary I watched after on Netflix about a couple who went on holiday for like a date and then
Yeah,
got stuck in like the country and had like the longest ever date
it must be like record breaking
because of
if you
COVID.
end up.
Just got stuck in like I think they were in Bali or something. They were just stuck there.
Yeah.
All the like um airport routes and things opened again.
So they would have been there for what, maybe 3 months or something.
Yeah, I think a good few months. Yeah.
This is completely not related to the book at all, but my brother lives in Ireland now, but he went for a date, flew to Ireland and came back, literally went for a date for a day, flying there and back. And they've been together for years now, but but yeah, at the time I thought he's a bit mad, isn't he? Going out for a date or just flying out there to come back.
Yeah, well, and then yeah, because imagine if he'd got stuck there. I mean, sounds like it worked out. I think it worked out for this couple as well, but it could have gone badly. Do you know what I mean? I feel
Yeah,
like there's crime novels in that, like you get stuck with someone that you really don't want to get stuck with.
yeah. And oddly enough, this might end up being my only crime novel. And the reason being, when I was doing it, I was rewriting it. I got called for jury service twice, and I ended up spending 2 months working in the Crown Court. as a juror. And because of that is why I've done my law degree and why I'm now working within criminal law itself, just because I think it's like I've always liked the idea of books having a positive influence, encouraging like anyone off.
But there's I mean, there are a lot of people who work in law and the police and things who write crime books.
My internet has lagged out a bit, so I don't know. I can't hear you at the moment, but that might just.
I said there's a lot of people who work in like the law and police who write crime books. So it shouldn't stop you.
There are, yeah. I mean, there's been quite a few people who've crossed over, but I don't know. I think it's something about using your imagination. I like, if possible, to use my imagination in a positive way, if that makes sense. And I just don't think I've got it in me. Like, I can understand why you would and why you'd kind of like you'd want to do more. But my next book is probably going to involve nuns and and the justice system, and it will be really weird. But I just kind of needed needed a bit of a switch up, if that makes sense. And yeah, this book is, I really enjoyed writing it and creating the characters, but I didn't like killing people off.
Yeah, I mean
And that's just,
the characters are a bit of a standout, aren't they? Phoenix was one of my favourites.
yeah. Phoenix is lived in the New Forest. I was about to say woodland, but it is the New Forest all their life. They are non-binary. They're the same age as me, so they were born in 1981, and I just like the concept that they kind of found themselves in the woodland, and with the help of their friend, they realise that they are non-binary, and the fact that they're just so uber independent that they don't even have a working toilet kind of thing and are just living off the land. But also without giving too much away, that stemmed from their kind of youth and what had happened previously. And I don't know, I liked the idea of bringing the millennium bug into the story. That's a bit of that's showing my age, but I'm sure that there are many people a tad younger. So like my kids would, if I said to them about the millennium bug, they wouldn't have a clue what I was on about. But I think I was 17, 18 when that happened. And I just remember how the companies were really worried that the millennium bug would really wipe technology out. And I just wanted to incorporate that as well. So that's why Phoenix is my age, because I knew that they would remember that event as well, as much as I do.
I remember the Millennium Bug.
Yeah. Do you remember the kind of hype and concern over it?
Yeah, a little bit. Uh, I was at uni in the when it was like the Millennium Year.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just I was kind of towards I think I would have been in college at that point. And maybe that's why, because technology was dawning far more at that point. So everyone was so kind of panicked that it would just wipe things out. And I just thought as well, like now, I mean, how many years are we on now? More than 20 years later, we're far more reliant on technology than we were back then. I don't know if you saw about the Vodafone outage yesterday. So I'm on Vodafone mobile, which is why I knew. So Vodafone had, I don't know what error occurred, but the whole system was down for about 3 hours. And obviously they're the biggest UK mobile provider. And for me, I was like suddenly like, oh, I'm not getting emails or notifications. And I suddenly realized I can't get hold of my kids if I needed to. Various updates weren't coming through that I've kind of got used to on the daily, if that makes sense. And when I came home, I had lectures yesterday evening, and I put the lecture on and it was glitching out. And I was like, I did have internet issues a while ago, and I thought, oh, maybe it's to do with that. But Cuckoo, who are my provider, are affiliated or connected with Vodafone. So the reason it was glitching out was because it was a Vodafone based provider. And I just thought suddenly, like, it's a bit like what people are trying to do within the book, where they're coming off of the internet. It's things like that make you realize how internet reliant we've become. So yeah, it was like a few hours of insight as to all the things I miss when I don't have the internet access that I've become used to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to draw a certain type of person, your concept of the nothing months, because I would not go and do that.
Yeah.
Very too much into my creature comforts. I want a shower and I want like coffee and I want a nice bed.
Yeah.
Things like I'm not going to camp anywhere. I don't want to be offline, but I can see why people would be drawn to it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of I'm probably with you really in the sense that I wouldn't want to do it for that length of time. If I was going to kind of have an off-grid period, it would probably be a weekend, and not maybe like you said camping, but without your mobile phone. But longer than that, you're like, oh, what about all those things that I need to do? And like you said as well, because it is no electric, no gas, etc. Even things like your cup of tea that you're used to having of a morning would be more complicated because you'd be having to boil it from, over the campfire type version. So yeah, but I do have quite a few nomad friends who Phoenix is kind of loosely drawn from, who happily live in like a camper van or away from everything. I'm not sure they'd live away from their mobile phone though. They still like
Yeah,
to be connected.
I don't know. The mobile phone thing, potentially, I could be without, because at work I'm without it
Yeah.
completely for hours on end, so it's fine. It's more like I just refuse to camp anywhere. It's just not a thing I'm going to do.
No, I think you either love it or you don't. And the older that I've got, the less likely I am. I promised to go camping with my daughter, and we are going to Brownsea Island. I don't know if you know where that is. It's like Dorset based. It's a National Trust heritage site that's still got red squirrels, etc. But they have a bothy there, which you can hire out. So it's like camping, but you still got a wooden stove to like heat the bothy up. You've got beds. So it's kind of like it's like a compromise, a bit like glamping, I guess.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the people left behind. So you have most of the people have gone off with a nothing month, but then we get the people who are sort of investigating what's going on as well, aren't we? Like our main characters.
Yeah.
So sort of still have a bit of access to technology and things.
Yeah. So Sally is the mum of Zara, who has joined the Nothing Month. She's aware that she's joined the Nothing Month. She's kind of driven her daughter and waved her off. And I can't remember how long into it, but it's not long into it that a body is found in the New Forest, and Sally is aware that that's where her daughter is headed. So she's suddenly very concerned that there's more to this than she knows about. And that's something that changed quite a bit in the rewrites. So there's been times when she didn't know she was doing the Nothing Month previously, and there's times, so she's literally just gone missing. Or this, obviously in the final version, she does know that she's going on to do the Nothing Month, and it was just gave it a bit more not credibility, but like the concern was warranted in knowing that she was going there. Her daughter was in that area, and so she has that immediate concern and wanting to solve it. But because of everything that's going on, it's made more difficult because of the setup of essentially the Nothing Month is not as well organized as it might have been if it had been if it hadn't been as popular. So they'd kind of organized it for so many, but far more people. It kind of became viral, so far more people become involved with it than they expected, which just makes it more difficult. So yeah, she's like the worried mum within us all.
And there's a little bit of a love interest as well, isn't there, kind of in the book? Not like it doesn't take away from the crime, but there's a little bit of love interest going on.
There is, and I used to work at West Quay Shop Mobility. So the shopping centre in the book is a real one. And when I was working there, I'd been trying to write, and they'd always said, "You're going to write a book that involves West Quay." And I was like, "Oh, I just haven't got an idea that, I don't think a shopping centre is necessarily the setting for a love story, usually." So yeah, it was almost like I couldn't help but put in a little side note, an ode to all my old colleagues.
So when you're writing, like, I mean, we've sort of got a bit of the inspiration for this one, but when you're going to write like your romance books, what do you use as inspiration for like the meetings and things? Because everyone's got a story of how they met their significant other, haven't they? Or like where
Yeah.
but they're not always like the most glamorous locations.
No, and I've had a variety of different ones. The last one is called The Day He Disappeared, and it was a train station or train setting, and it's kind of putting together all the little bits as to how they're going to be drawn together, kind of thing. And it starts off. It's quite different because she's going to a hen party, and there's a scene, I remember writing it with my friend, where they're carrying an inflatable penis around. So yeah, it's very different to what I've written here, but it's often conversations or little snippets of things when I come up with ideas for books, or any kind of genre, because I have written some comedies as well, contemporary comedies. So the Gin Shack and the Gin Shack on the Beach were completely different again, but I always have different ideas, and I just like pursuing the idea as much as anything.
So this might be your last thriller, but would you write in other genres as well?
Oh yeah, I definitely would. And I mean, it's not to say that I wouldn't ever write a crime thriller again, but I think it's such a strange scenario to be in, to be writing something like this and then spending 2 months in the Crown Court trying to make decisions about people's lives. And I think that's my stories have always been about the people, and you can probably tell that from some of the storytelling. And yeah, it's just, I thought, it's just not. My next story will probably be something else entirely, but it's because I always come up with quite different ideas. It's like my brain isn't trained into one genre, if that makes sense.
No, that's fine. What's the reception been like to this one?
It's generally been good. Always go by my mum. Not that you should, because your mum is gonna always favour your books. But if she's like engrossed, I know I've done okay. And my new boss has read it as well. He took it on holiday with him because it's been a bit of a strange month with my mum having surgery. I haven't kind of publicised it as much as I normally would, but he approved of it. So generally speaking, the feedback I've had has been positive. I just feel quite strange about it because it's like I say, it's been so different to what I've done before. I feel more nervous than I would about my usual genre because it's a whole new landscape and obviously different tastes and flavors within that genre as well. Like people tend to like certain things to happen with, and when you are a more out there storyteller, it doesn't always gel, if that makes sense.
I think though that the crime writing and reading community, from the time I've spent with them, are very friendly and welcoming.
Oh yeah, yeah, they
And there's
definitely
kind of
are.
a broad range of books within the genre that like you have got space to be out there. I mean, yours is it's like a proper crime novel. There is proper crime happening. There are proper bad guys. You know, they solve it in the way that you would expect a crime to be solved by people who aren't the police, really. Um, so it's not as out there as you think.
Yeah, it's I had to kind of make sure it hit the right notes, and I'm glad it has, or I hope it has. Um, so yeah,
What kind of research did you do before starting it? Did you read a bunch of crime? Did you like
I
look
think
up?
I read and watch crime more than I do romance. It's kind of my as a reader, it's my preferred genre, which yeah, it was just the switch to actually writing about people killing. I was like, oh. um, I live in the New Forest, so things like panaging, like the panage season, a lot of people, somebody who I know who lives not too far away messaged and said, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that they put the pigs out every winter to eat all the acorns and stuff. So, yeah, there's quite a bit of research about the New Forest and about kind of going off grid and what is obviously what the bylaws of the New Forest would allow. So that's why Phoenix has her own like small holding that she was gifted, because actually a lot of what she was doing, if she wasn't on her own ground, would be illegal. Or camping in the New Forest is not allowed. So those are things that I had to find out about. And yeah, it's all been quite nice research, and the rest was from my imagination and watching too many shows of a criminal nature.
Brilliant, love it. Um, so what have you read recently and enjoyed? I always ask people this.
Um, let me. Sorry, I gotta get something to show.
Yay!
Criminal law. I've literally found out my results yesterday, and that I've passed. So it's because I've been doing that. That's taken up a lot of my time. So I've been reading a lot of law textbooks. Um, what I've let me. I've been reading or listening to a lot of like Circe and more kind of mythological texts at the moment. But Angela Marsden's I love, and I still need to catch up on some of hers. So yeah, there's quite a backlog of books because of all the textbooks.
Which is, yeah, I mean, it's reasonable. Sorry, I ask everyone because you were like, I'm a fan of crime, so I was like, I'm going to ask you who your favorite crime authors are. you know,
Well,
done.
I'm good friends with Sue Fortin, and she's puts books out at such a pace that currently I'm reading her one called I think it's Our Little Lies. So that's what I'm reading at the moment. But yeah, I have to read all of hers.
We do if you're friends with him.
Yeah, yeah. And I do still read quite a lot of romantic fiction as well. So it's quite I tend to switch genre. So I don't always read the same genre 2 books in a row. So I'll read something romantic, something historical, something crime based. Um, I have the 24 hours in police custody is one of my favourite things to watch on telly at the moment.
I interviewed an author who wrote a sci-fi crime novel a while ago. It's probably one of my favourite reads of the year. But he said
Yeah.
he likes to read romance books every so often because the romance writers are so good at writing characters. Because they're
Yeah.
such character-led books. He's like, it's like a masterclass in how you write really good characters.
What was his book?
Esperance.
Okay. I'll have to look out for that one because I'm always adding books to my to be read pile.
It's superb. It's let's have a look at like, because we make a book of the year video, like the people who do the author chats with me. And honestly, at the moment, my top 3, any one of them any other year would be the top one,
Oh,
if you know
that's
what I
really
mean.
good. Yeah.
Esperance is in there because it was superb. It's an outstanding read. But yeah, and also my top 3 is a top 4, but we're not going to discuss that.
Well, like I say, I'm kind of a bit behind on what my usual reading would be. So yeah, it's a poor show. But I think I have read about 20 books this year still. But yeah, a lot of them I do love Angela Marsden's series. And once I'm into a series, I kind of keep going until I've read the whole lot.
Yeah, I think that's the joy of reading books in a series, isn't it? You not,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess with romance it's a bit harder to do, but are you ever tempted to go into a series or?
The only one that is part of a series is the Gin Shack book. So there's 2 books. And I don't know, I've always found it like my ideas only have legs that go so far. Like they always seem to fit nicely into a 1 book idea. And I have been asked for like spin-offs or for there to be a follow-up. And it's like, oh, I kind of feel like sometimes the story ends when it ends. Um, it's like going through people's dirty laundry after that. I just with my characters anyway. So yeah, I generally my brain thinks in 1 book way. I have such admiration for anyone who does a series over years, and I couldn't even tell. I have not got a spreadsheet of all the names I've ever used in books, and I really should do that. I know some people that do, so that you don't end up repeating names. But with a series, there's an even more vast amount of work or characters or even what t-shirt they wore on a particular day or something that could throw things off. So unless you've got a really good editor or copy editor who's going to flag those things up, I think I'd struggle.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I'm going to be honest, like, I think you're right, like, the Nothing Month is kind of like a one story thing, and I don't know that you'd necessarily go any further with those people, but I would be interested to see where you would go with another crime story.
Yeah, I think I did have an idea and that I was going to write, and I think sometimes things are a bit too close and personal. So I thought I can't write it if it's too close or personal. It has to be. Things are normally quite far removed from me that I write. I don't ever base things on real life or real people. So the idea was just a bit too close to home. The next book I want to write is the Gin Shack book is the contemporary comedy book, and I think it will be. I've got an idea floating around in my head, and I'd love to write it. I don't know whether any publishers will want it, but I'd love to write it.
Do you have a number of publishers? Because you're with Canelo for this one. Are you with other publishers for the other books?
Yeah, I've been published by Bookouture for over 5 years, I think. And I was previously with HarperCollins, or part of HarperCollins, which was Carina, and it's probably now part of One More Page or whatever. I can't remember the name of it now. But yeah, so I've been published over a decade, really. And this, even though it's the first crime thriller book, it's the 13th book. So yeah, but just life has kind of paved other things as well to happen for me. So I've really enjoyed learning separate to, I think writing, there's a lot of output sometimes. And it's been really nice to have some input learning wise, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you snagged a good publisher for your crime book. We're a big fan of Canelo here in the group.
Yes. Yeah. They've been really nice to work with. And I love the cover that they've come up with, because it's quite striking. So yeah, they've been really good to work with. And it was because of the jury service, they did have to kind of, we've had to work around timelines and schedules a little bit. So they've been really accommodating with that.
Yeah, they're they also just like most of their books are just superb, if you know what I mean. We spend a lot of time
Yeah.
interviewing authors with them, and they're always like really good quality books.
Yeah, I did, for the first time, because my other publishers are digital first publishers. And it was really nice the other day to walk into Waterstones on my lunch break and find the Nothing Month there. So previously, it's kind of been Amazon publishing. So yeah, it was the first time I got to do that.
Have you gone in and signed them in your local Waterstones?
I didn't, for two reasons. One, because I was on my lunch break and I had to walk back, and two, because I was just a bit too embarrassed, when you're like, so yeah, I didn't on that occasion because I didn't have long enough, but I think I will on another time.
Yeah, it's worth finding out who their events coordinator is, because they often like a local author to pop in and do stuff.
Yeah, and I think because it's based partly in the shopping centre that they are in, I should do that.
Yeah, you really should. It'd be good. Like
Yeah,
they'll touch like local authors and things, so it's good to make yourself known.
yeah.
If you've got an indie bookshop as well, do that too.
And what, sorry, I did.
If you've got like an independent bookshop, talk to them as well.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
very
yeah,
good for local authors and things.
yeah. I will definitely do that. But it's just been there's it's been a mad year basically with everything that's gone on. I've never had a year like it. So but Canelo have been very good with supporting everything that's been going on.
Good. That's what we like to hear. What other author have you done any other author events for this book? Have you
No, this is the first one really, because like I say, there's been mad stuff going on in the background in my personal life. So and we were due to have this a few weeks ago, but because my mum was ill, she had to have surgery, and had emergency care as well. So that threw things off again. So yeah, haven't
Yeah,
done as much as I normally do.
it does happen. It's fine. We never mind rescheduling if there's, you know, parents are important, like I said. You don't want to,
Yeah,
they come first before anything else.
they do. And the surgery has been very successful because it's on her back, but she's always been taller than me, about 5'10", but she's kind of shrunk down a bit. But the surgery has actually made her at least an inch taller, which again, so she's got her height back, which is good.
That's amazing. My mum's like tiny.
Yeah,
She's like 5 foot nothing.
I'm the tiny one in the family.
Yeah, my mum's the tiny one in my family, and then I married a really, really tall guy. So like all our wedding pictures are like really amusing because my mum's like a midget, and then he's like all his family are like giants.
Oh, like in between.
Yeah, there's like just this big sort of height difference in all the pictures, which is quite
It's
funny.
really sweet. Yeah, I haven't told my brother actually that my mum's grown in height because he'll find that quite funny.
Do you think? I mean, I know you were sort of talking about like people wanting to go off social media and things. Do you think that because this is set sort of around the COVID times, do you think people would have still had that appetite to kind of be
Um,
away from everything, or do you think
I
people
think I
sort of
think I think they would, but not in such an extreme format. So I don't know about you, but for me, social media's changed, particularly I'd say in the last year or so, where it's much more driven with adverts on more random things coming up that aren't your friends, like you joined Facebook for originally, kind of thing. So I do know people that have either taken social media off their phone or they've come off a particular app. So yeah, so I think that is a much lesser version of what this event is. I don't think people would be so willing to go off grid, etc. But it was just linked to that time because I think we might have been more willing to do it then.
yeah, I mean, no, it's a great premise. I think just post COVID, I kind of wanted to do more social things,
Yeah, that's
just
true.
being out
Yeah,
around people again. Although it was really weird, we were talking about this like today, me and my husband, like the first concert we went to after COVID was
yeah,
really weird being in a crowd of people again, and you kind of thinking like this isn't.
yeah, yeah. Um, I remember going. I'm on immunosuppressant, so I had to stay at home. And when I had my first COVID jab, I went to the BIC, which is a music venue. And I just remember thinking, and at the time they were far more strict on your distancing and wearing masks, etc. It was just quite surreal to think that's a place normally you go to a concert, and here we were lining up to have a jab done. And at some point in the future, I'll be at a concert again there. I haven't been back to that particular venue since then. But yeah, it's just a strange set of conditions to be in. And like you say, you're more inclined to be social after that, having not seen everyone.
True. I had mine at the football ground
Oh
when they,
yeah.
which is not somewhere I'm ever inclined to overly visit again.
No. No, they did have their first lot, they did have them at quite random places, but I think that's because they were doing so many at the time.
Yeah, I mean it was good because it was like it's a weird experience, like you said, but it's you got to see some like random parts of like your city that you wouldn't necessarily go to.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I do think like I do think the premise of this, I do think like social media trends as well do happen quite a lot really, particularly with TikTok. And it might be like, I don't know, baking a cake in an air fryer or something like that, like something that catches on and then a lot of people are doing it. But trends in that sense do happen more frequently, I think. Um, so the idea was this was a trend that was kind of set off by social media which kind of made it a little bit ironic that then people were coming off social media.
Yeah. No, it's a brilliant idea. Like I said, it's a really clever, like, concept for a crime novel, and it's like you did it really well. And you kind of built that sense of like the isolation and how those crimes could happen, like in a really clever way. So it was well done.
Yeah. Well, I think some of it, like the kids around the campfire and stuff, some of that was from the original draft, like the whole concept of it. So the concept didn't change much, even though other elements were kind of introduced.
Yeah, there's a moment where someone goes to the original camp with Phoenix, isn't there, who's got some sight problems and things, and that's sort of like a really empowering. So it's not giving away a spoiler, I don't think, but it's
No,
like
no.
it's like a nice it's a nice part of the story.
Yeah. And that's something I've always tried to do, is include kind of a variety of characters, but make sure I'm being representative. Because I've got an eyesight condition myself, so I kind of was I think out of everything, it's the first character I've had with an eye condition. Whereas I've obviously had, well, in my other books, I've had a variety of things, or kind of illnesses and various things represented as much as possible, really.
Yeah, which is good. We were talking about this a while ago in the group about the importance of representation of like different things. It's good to read
Yeah.
yourself or things that you might encounter in a book.
Well, I did the disabled bookseller edition. It's a couple of years ago now. One of the things I think is really important is if you walk down to the shop, you will see a variety of people, and those are the people you should see in books. Like that kind of statistical analysis should end up being in books. And if it isn't, as a problem, like if we're not representing everyone that you would meet on the street, then yeah, it's and it's not always the way, because I've kind of championed a bit for mobility aids and wheelchairs and stuff to be on covers. And generally speaking, adult fiction covers, there's not enough of it, in my opinion. And yeah, so that's something I'd like to see more of.
Yeah,
I
I'd
won't, I won't
agree.
get I won't get on my soapbox though too much.
No, but it's a valid point. It's a very good point. One I feel quite strongly about as well. Um, I will distract you with some of our other favourite book group questions because this is your first crime novels. We can ask you all of our favourite questions that we can't ask people who return with their third crime novel because they've already been done. If Netflix came along and adapted The Nothing Month, which by the way would be a really good show,
Thank you.
uh, what character would you play?
Oh, what character? I'd probably be Sally. I'd probably be the worrying mum, wondering what to do, being annoyed at the police being inept, and not having the answers that I needed or wanted, and then taking it upon myself to do my own investigating. So yeah, I think I'd probably be Sally.
Good. That's a good question. Your most memorable moments as an author so far?
Um, I think probably walking into Waterstones and seeing my book. Um, there's been a few. I've been shortlisted for a couple of things, and that was during COVID, so it was only awards like this. I had to, years ago, do like a Dragon's Den at London Book Fair. They had a competition and you had to send your idea in. So my first book that was ever published, I had to go on stage and talk to agents and stuff. So that was pretty memorable and scary.
It sounds like a good idea. There are other things like that, isn't there? You go and pitch a book to publishers and things.
Yeah, I didn't win that event, but I did have an agent within the year, so it can't have been all bad.
No, I think even if you don't win some of those events, they can come out like well for people.
Yeah, because at least you've got to that that forum in the first place. So it definitely did help, I think.
And even if you're not the winner, like some of the agents and publishers there might have been more interested than others, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what I've heard from the other ones. There's one in Scotland called Pitch Perfect, and like often the
Yeah, I think I've
people
seen a
end
couple
up
of
doing
others.
well.
Um, Caroline James. I don't know if you know her name. She's done like the cruise books now, but she was one of the shortlistees as well that I was on stage with. So neither of us won, but it hasn't done us any harm.
Do you remember who did win?
I can't remember his name. But he had a really good idea. It was more kind of crime thriller based. And I don't think it ever got published though, unfortunately. I've never seen it or heard anything further on that. So he did get some nice champagne though.
That's pretty cool. Is that all you won? Some champagne?
I think he had like a one-to-one with one of the judges. So I think he had like the opportunity to speak to the judge afterwards. I'm not quite sure if there was anything else attached to that, but yeah.
And have you got any book events and things coming up?
I haven't at the moment, just because I am on my second year of doing my law conversion course now. So currently I'm studying land law and human rights. So, and I work full time as well. So it's there's a lot going on, but I will be doing. I should probably, like you say, get in touch with Waterstones and sort something out locally.
Yeah, your local and the local indie stores, because they always have stuff
Yeah,
and like local authors and things. And
yeah,
Waterstone are not an
definitely.
events person, so get in contact with them.
Yeah, yeah, I shall do.
I don't know the area where you are, so I can't tell you the people. Like if you live near me, I could tell you who all those people were.
Yeah, I'm right at the other end of the country, aren't I?
You are, yeah. Can't help, sadly. But I learned a lot about the New Forest from reading the book, because the only other like things I knew about the New Forest was from reading The Children of the New Forest.
Yeah, do you know what? I've got that book upstairs because I have not read it yet, and I want to. So uh, I think there are quite a few. I was reading the other day. There was an article about New Forest books, and I think is it MJ Aldridge? He's got a book set here. So yeah, so there's a few novels based in this area. I need to read more of them.
Yeah, and I think it's the thing that draws people. So you might find this with like your thriller book. A lot of people are drawn to reading sort of books set in areas that they know well. Like people like
Yeah,
to read stuff set where they live, don't they? Too.
yeah. And I never base like people characters on people, but I've always set books in places that I know or I'm familiar with, just because I quite like doing that. So a few of my books have been set in Kent, where I used to live, and some of them are set around Hampshire and Southampton, again because it's the areas I'm familiar with.
I remember discovering Mel Sharratt's crime books. I don't know if you've read her, but they're set
I've
in
read
Stoke.
some, yeah.
And I went to high school in Stoke-on-Trent, so it was
Okay.
like I think the first one I opened like killed someone where I used to go to the cinema, and I was like, "This is brilliant." Just
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I've read many books set in the New Forest. I don't think I have really. I have set I've got a book called All That Is Left of Us, and that's about somebody being a surrogate, and her son has autism and is struggling to understand it. And that was based I called it Hourdale, but it's actually based on Hour, which is where Portons Park is. And they helped me do the research because the little boy was obsessed with meerkats. So their meerkat, their zookeeper or animal keeper helped with the research on that. But yeah, I do like setting it in somewhere that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, which is good. I think that's like it helps because it's good to feel like the New Forest felt like the perfect location for this book.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I really like the fact that it is kind of, it's not going back in time, but you are more cut off here. Where I live is near to Southampton Water, but we're not far from the New Forest, and we're the last people to have cable, and our water supply gets cut off regularly because it's so, like, everything's connected so badly. So yeah, it is a little bit more cut off. So I think it's more realistic that it would happen in this kind of area.
Yeah, and you needed like an isolated location, didn't you, really, for the kind of book it was?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And there's some really nice places as well. I should have got them to add some New Forest walks in the back or something, because Hatchet Pond, which is featured in it, is a really beautiful spot. And we went down there a couple of weekends ago, and we saw pigs, we saw horses. There was a donkey just stood in the car park kind of thing. So it's really kind of, I don't know, it's something quite magical about the area.
I mean, you can always put those on like your author website for people who go and are interested.
Do you know what? I think this is showing that I haven't updated my. I've got a website called katielittlelady.com, and that's because that's what my brother used to call me. And yeah, I don't think I've updated it with all the information that I should have on there. I'm gonna have to go and check now.
Does your brother read your books?
Oh, do you know what? That's a good question. He would probably say he's read some, but I don't think which one did I dedicate to him? I'm going to say The Missing Piece, but I can't remember if it was that one. But yeah, I doubt he bought it. I doubt he's read it. Although he is a reader, he does read, so maybe he has.
I feel like he'd have told you if he had, though. Surely he'd have had opinions. My brother would have an opinion if he read something I'd written.
I don't know. He wouldn't. I don't think he'd kind of give it a review, or do you know what? I'm going to text him after this to say, have you ever read any of my books? Because I know you've ordered some.
You have to tell us what the answer is.
Yeah. I'm not certain on that. So my mum does, and some of my relatives do. My mum's definitely read The Nothing Month, because she often, when I have a new book out, she'll be there reading it and ignoring me. Always find that quite funny.
And then you've got a minute left, so remind people what they're going to go away and buy.
So it's The Nothing Month by Kat Miller. 30 days off grid. Would you survive? And yeah, thank you ever so much for having me.
You're very welcome. And you're welcome back anytime. Obviously, if you decide to dip back into crime fiction, let us know.
I will do. And it might happen at some point, but I think I'll finish my law degree first.
Fair enough. Well, you know where we are anyway.
Yeah.